My mind was a prison of translation, a frantic, overcrowded processing center where every single English word had to wait in a long line to be converted from my native language. I was trapped. And I know you might feel the same way right now. That ends today. Welcome, everyone, to a revolution for your brain, a complete rewiring of how you process the English language. I'm your host, Beth, and joining me is the brilliant Carl.
Hello, Beth. Hello, everyone. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here with us. If you have ever struggled with the exhausting mental gymnastics of translating your thoughts before you speak, then you are precisely who we made this episode for.
That is absolutely right, Carl. Have you ever experienced that frustrating delay, that agonizing pause where you can feel the seconds ticking by as your brain works furiously to convert a perfect sentence from your native language into English?
It slows you down, doesn't it? It creates a barrier that feels almost impossible to cross.
It truly does. And you are not alone in this. So many individuals learning English face this exact same challenge. Their internal monologue operates in their first language, and every communication requires a complex, error-prone translation step that often means the conversation has moved on by the time they are ready to participate.
But here is the wonderful news. In today's discussion, we are going to provide you with a clear, actionable blueprint for training your magnificent brain to bypass that entire inefficient system and to begin thinking directly in English, just as a native speaker does from their very first thought.
And believe me when I tell you, the moment you begin to think in English, every single aspect of the language becomes infinitely more accessible. Speaking loses its terror, listening becomes clearer, and even writing feels more fluid and natural.
So if you have ever lay awake at night wondering how to break free from the chains of constant translation and to unlock a natural, fluid English mindset, you must stay with us. We have powerful, life-changing techniques to share with you right now.
Let us begin this transformative journey together. So, Carl, let's start with the fundamental question that is probably on everyone's mind. Why is this concept of thinking in English so incredibly vital for achieving true fluency?
That is an excellent starting point, Beth. The simple, unvarnished truth is this. If you are perpetually forming your thoughts in your native language and then attempting to translate them into English, you will never, ever achieve the speed and ease of spontaneous speech. That internal translator is a bottleneck that strangles fluency.
It absolutely creates a critical delay, doesn't it? Your poor brain is forced to do double the work. First, it must meticulously construct a complete idea in your first language. Then, it has to frantically search for the corresponding English vocabulary, arrange it according to grammar rules, and hope the final product makes sense. It's a high-pressure, inefficient assembly line.
Oh, without a doubt. Think about common direct translation errors. If someone translates the phrase, "I am cold," directly from a language where the structure is different, they might end up saying something unnatural like, "I have cold," which immediately marks them as a learner and can cause confusion.
And that is precisely where the power of thinking in English shines. It trains your mind from the ground up to form concepts and sentences the way a native speaker does, intuitively and without the middleman of translation. It's about building a new thought pathway directly in English.
And let's talk about a huge benefit that often gets overlooked: confidence. When you begin to think in English, you will feel a surge of self-assurance because the words will start to come to you more quickly and directly. Those long, awkward silences filled with mental translation begin to vanish.
Yes, no more pausing for what feels like an eternity while you rebuild a sentence in your head. You will begin to respond in a way that feels natural and smooth, almost effortless. Another monumental reason to make this shift is the dramatic improvement it brings to your listening comprehension skills.
That's so true. If your brain is already operating in English mode, it becomes primed to process spoken English much faster. You stop trying to translate every word you hear back into your native language, and instead you understand the meaning directly. The conversation flows, and you flow with it.
And this doesn't just apply to conversations with people. Suddenly, watching English language films, listening to your favorite English music, or tuning into podcasts becomes a completely different experience. You start recognizing words and phrases instantly, understanding them as concepts rather than as foreign objects requiring decoding.
And Beth, we cannot forget the incredible impact this has on pronunciation.
A fantastic point, Carl, because when you are thinking in English, you are internally hearing the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation of the language exactly as a native speaker would produce them. This internal rehearsal is a powerful tool for training your mouth and tongue to form those sounds clearly and correctly.
So, to bring it all together, training your brain to think in English is the master key that unlocks faster speech, unshakable confidence, superior listening skills, and cleaner, more accurate pronunciation.
And now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Beth and Carl, I am completely convinced. I understand why this is so important. But the million-dollar question is, how on earth do I actually train my brain to do this? It feels like an impossible task.
Do not worry for a single second. We are going to break this down into manageable, powerful steps. But before we unveil the roadmap to your English-thinking brain, we must first clear the path. We need to talk about the common pitfalls, the mistakes that silently sabotage most learners and prevent them from ever making this critical shift.
That is such a crucial point, Carl. So many people are unaware that they are actively engaging in habits that block their progress. But once you identify these mistakes and learn how to fix them, you will experience a massive leap forward in your fluency journey.
Absolutely. So let's dive into the most common mistakes. Mistake number one, and this is the giant, is an over-reliance on translation. If you are constantly using your native language as a crutch, as the starting point for every single thought, your brain never learns to stand on its own in English. It becomes dependent.
Exactly. It is like trying to learn to swim while always keeping one foot firmly on the bottom of the pool. You have to let go and trust that your brain will learn to stay afloat and move through the English language naturally without that constant touchstone of translation.
And Beth, another incredibly common mistake is focusing too much on perfect grammar while you're in the process of forming a thought. So many learners get stuck because they are trying to build a perfectly grammatically correct sentence in their mind before they even dare to think it completely.
Oh, yes, grammar is, of course, important for clarity, but if you are constantly hitting the pause button to analyze every verb tense and article, your thought process will be slow, stuttered, and unnatural. The goal is fluid thought, not a grammatically perfect internal monologue at all times.
Right, native speakers do not consciously think about grammar rules while having a casual conversation. The structure is intuitive. They just speak. And guess what? Even native speakers make grammatical errors in their everyday speech, and the world keeps turning.
That is such a vital thing to remember. Okay, let's talk about mistake number 3, the fear of making mistakes. This is a huge one. Some people are so terrified of being wrong, of having an imperfect thought in English, that they freeze up. They stop themselves from even trying to think in the language.
Correct. But making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It is the very engine of learning. It is feedback. The more you practice thinking in English, the fewer mistakes you will make over time. You have to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Fluency is born from practice, not from perfection.
Absolutely. And another major mistake that acts as a huge barrier to thinking in English is failing to create an English environment around you. If your daily life is saturated with your native language, the news you watch, the music you listen to, the books you read, then your brain has no reason to switch its primary operating system to English.
A brilliant point, Beth. If you only use English during a specific study session, but then return to your native language for everything else, your brain will always see English as a foreign subject to be studied, not as a living language to be used. That is why immersion, even a mini immersion you create for yourself, is so critical.
Let's do a quick recap of these mental blocks. The biggest mistakes that prevent you from thinking in English are first, relying too heavily on translation as a crutch. Second, overthinking grammatical perfection while you are forming your thoughts. Third, allowing the fear of making errors to paralyze your mind. And fourth, not surrounding your daily life with sufficient English input to make the switch feel natural.
If you recognize yourself in any of these common mistakes, please do not be discouraged. The excellent news is that awareness is the first and most powerful step towards change. And we are now going to provide you with the tools to fix every single one of them.
Yes, the time for theory is over. Now we move into action. Up next, we will share powerful, step-by-step strategies designed to systematically train your brain to start thinking in English naturally and effortlessly.
Absolutely. Get ready to transform your mental habits.
All right, Carl, the moment has arrived. This is the most important part of our discussion. How can our listeners actually train their brains to think in English? What does the practical journey look like?
We are going to break this down into a series of simple yet profoundly effective steps that anyone can start implementing today, regardless of their current level.
Perfect. Let us begin with step 1, the practice of naming your environment in English. This is a foundational exercise.
I am a huge advocate for this one. It is such a simple habit to build into your daily routine. All you need to do is look around you, wherever you are, and silently say the names of the objects you see, but say them in English. For example, if you are in your kitchen, your internal dialogue would be refrigerator, stove, coffee mug, spoon.
Exactly. And to build on that fantastic foundation, you can take it a step further. Start to describe what is happening in your immediate reality using simple English. So instead of just thinking the word cup, you can form a short thought like, I am picking up my cup, or this cup has hot tea in it.
Yes, this practice is so powerful because it forges a direct neural connection between your everyday life and the English language. You are teaching your brain that English is not just for textbooks. It is for your real-world experiences. Over time, this makes the language feel more intuitive and natural.
All right, let's move on to step 2, and having conversations with yourself in English. Now, I know this might sound a little unusual at first, but trust me, it is one of the most effective techniques for building a natural English thought process.
You can do this absolutely anywhere, completely privately. When you're preparing a meal, getting ready for your day, or walking to the bus stop, just begin to describe your actions in simple, clear English. Think to yourself, I am tying my shoes. The sky looks cloudy today. I hope it does not rain.
The beautiful part of this exercise is that there is zero pressure. No one is listening, no one is judging you. It's just you, privately training your magnificent brain to access and use English spontaneously without the filter of another language.
It is the safest and most productive practice environment you will ever find.
Now, let's move on to step 3, and this one is a genuine game changer for your vocabulary and thought process. Making the switch to an English-to-English dictionary.
This is a critical pivot that so many learners overlook. Many people still rely on bilingual dictionaries that automatically translate a word into their native language. While this feels helpful in the short term, it actually reinforces the very translation habit we are trying to break.
Precisely. When you switch to a dictionary that defines English words using other, simpler English words, you're forced to stay entirely within the language. For example, if you don't know the word ecstatic, instead of translating it to your native tongue, you look it up and find the definition: feeling or showing overwhelming happiness or joyful excitement.
That is exactly right. In that moment, your brain is not creating a link between an English word and a foreign word. It's building a network of connections entirely within English. You are learning that ecstatic is a stronger version of very happy. This is how you start to understand the subtle shades of meaning that native speakers feel intuitively.
It fundamentally improves your vocabulary in a more organic and native-like way. You're learning concepts, not just equivalents.
Absolutely. Now, for step 4, we have a crucial piece of advice for overcoming frustration. Start by thinking in simple sentences first.
This is so important. Many learners make the mistake of trying to form complex, perfect thoughts right from the start. And when they can't, they feel defeated and give up. Your brain needs to walk before it can run.
Correct. Do not begin by trying to think, I wonder if I should undertake the complicated endeavor of preparing a sophisticated gourmet meal this evening. That's a recipe for mental gridlock. Instead, start with a basic, foundational thought like, I am hungry. I will make food.
Once you become comfortable and fluid with these short, simple building blocks of thought, you'll find, almost without conscious effort, that your sentences will naturally begin to grow longer and more detailed. The complexity will come on its own, born from fluency, not forced by effort.
It is about building momentum with small, easy victories. Let's move on to step 5, which I personally love, cultivating an English inner voice.
This is the next evolution of talking to yourself. Instead of just describing actions, you start to have a full internal dialogue in English. You turn your stream of consciousness into an English stream.
Yes, for instance, if you are planning your day, you consciously think in English. What should I do first? Maybe I will check my emails. After that, I need to go to the bank. What will I have for lunch today?
This practice is phenomenally effective because it directly replaces the internal monologue you already have in your native language. It is one of the fastest ways to make thinking in English an automatic, effortless process because you are simply changing the language of your existing thoughts.
And finally, we have step 6, which acts as the foundation for all the others. You must consciously and consistently surround yourself with the English language.
This is the ultimate accelerator. The more you immerse your brain in English, the more it will accept it as a normal, natural mode of operation. Passive exposure is far more powerful than most people realize.
That is absolutely right. The more English you listen to through podcasts, music, audiobooks, and films, the more your brain's neural pathways for the language are strengthened and activated. It begins to recognize patterns, sounds, and rhythms subconsciously, which then makes conscious thinking in English infinitely easier.
So, let us quickly recap these 6 transformative steps to train your brain. Step 1. Name the objects and actions around you in English. Step 2. Talk to yourself in English describing your daily activities. Step 3. Use an English-to-English dictionary to build vocabulary networks. Step 4. Begin by thinking in simple, short sentences. Step 5. Cultivate a full English inner voice for your thoughts and plans. And step 6. Surround yourself with English media to create an immersive environment.
These steps, practiced consistently, will systematically deconstruct the translation habit and build a new, direct pathway for thinking in English. The best part is that you can begin implementing every single one of them today, right now. You do not need any special tools or classes.
Incredible. Now, knowing the strategies is one thing, but making them a permanent part of your life is another. Up next, we're going to dive into the practical daily exercises that will cement this skill, turning occasional practice into an unbreakable habit.
Yes, because consistency is the magic ingredient that turns knowledge into ability.
All right, Carl, we have outlined the core strategies to start thinking in English. But now let's take it a step further. How can our listeners practice this intentionally every single day to make it a permanent, automatic habit?
Just knowing the techniques is not enough. You need to integrate them into your daily routine through deliberate exercises. This is how you move from trying to thinking to simply thinking in English.
Exactly. So let's share some simple yet powerful daily exercises. The first one is to bookend your day with English. Make a conscious effort to start and end your day with English thoughts.
That is a wonderful ritual. The very moment you wake up, before your native language takes over, try to articulate your plans for the day in English. Form a thought like, today is Tuesday. I have a doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. Later, I will call my sister.
And then, just before you go to sleep, do the same thing in reverse. Review your day in English. Think, what did I do today? I finished my work project, I talked to my friend, I watched a funny show. This book-ending practice effectively tells your brain that English is a valid and primary mode of thought for the beginning and end of your conscious day.
It is a powerful signal. The second daily practice is to establish a strict no translation zone for a set period each day.
I love this challenge. Choose a manageable block of time, even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes to start, and during that time, you are forbidden from translating anything in your head. You must struggle, search for words, and think only in English, no matter what.
It might be difficult and messy at first, but it's like strength training for your brain. It forces the new neural pathways to fire. The more you do it, the longer you'll be able to extend that period until one day you realize you've spent entire hours without once slipping into translation mode.
This third daily exercise is to take the internal monologue and give it a voice. Commit to talking to yourself in English for a few minutes every single day.
This is where you actively bridge the gap between thought and speech. You can do this while you are alone, perhaps while cooking or organizing your space. Just describe your actions aloud. I am adding salt to the pasta water. The water is boiling now. It smells good.
The key here is to make English a spoken part of your daily routine, even when there is no one around to hear it. This practice strengthens the connection between forming a thought in English and physically producing the sounds, which builds both cognitive and muscular memory.
Another highly effective way to practice is to use English as your default language during simple, automatic activities. This is about capturing those moments when your mind would otherwise be idle.
Exactly. Instead of letting your mind wander in your native language during a commute, a walk, or a workout, deliberately focus on thinking in English. If you are driving, you can think, the traffic is moving slowly. I need to turn left at the next light. The car in front of me is blue.
This transforms dead time into productive practice time. You are training your brain to default to English during moments of low pressure, which makes it easier to access during high-pressure conversations.
And finally, our fifth daily exercise is to keep a simple English journal. This does not have to be a long, elaborate diary entry. It can be just a few sentences.
The act of writing down your thoughts, what happened during your day, or even your future goals in English is incredibly powerful. It forces you to formulate complete ideas and sentences on the page, solidifying the English thinking process.
And please do not worry about perfect grammar or spelling in your journal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is expression. The mere act of pushing your English thoughts out onto paper is what creates progress and tracks your journey.
So, to quickly summarize these powerful daily habits, first, start and end your day with English thoughts. Second, enforce a daily no translation zone. Third, talk to yourself aloud in English. Fourth, use English during simple routine activities. And fifth, keep a basic English journal.
If you integrate these small but consistent exercises into your life, thinking in English will transition from a conscious effort to an automatic, subconscious habit. It will become your new normal.
That is the ultimate goal. Up next, we are going to address the very real challenges you will face on this journey and how to overcome them so you can stay motivated and consistent for the long haul.
All right, Carl, we have outlined the daily exercises to make thinking in English a habit. But let's be completely honest with our listeners. This is a journey, and like any meaningful journey, there will be challenges and obstacles along the way.
Absolutely, Beth. It is perfectly normal to encounter struggles. What separates successful learners from those who give up is not the absence of challenges, but the knowledge of how to overcome them. So let's go over 3 common challenges and their practical solutions.
The first and most common struggle is the sheer mental inertia of your native language. Your brain has spent your entire life thinking in that language. It is the path of least resistance. So it feels natural and automatic to form a thought there first, leading you right back into the translation trap.
Yes, that default setting is powerful. The solution here is a combination of patience and strategic scaling. You must be patient with yourself. You are literally reprogramming a fundamental cognitive process. And strategically, you must practice with small English thoughts first. Do not attack a complex philosophical debate in your head on day 1.
Right. Start with those single words and simple phrases we discussed. And remember, using that English-to-English dictionary is a key part of the solution here. It keeps your brain operating within the English ecosystem, preventing the mental jump back to your native language.
Another very frequent challenge is the feeling of being mentally stuck because you lack the specific vocabulary. You have a clear thought in your head, but you can't find the right English word to express it. This is incredibly frustrating and can make you want to abandon the effort entirely.
It happens to everyone, Carl, even native speakers sometimes. The solution is not to stop thinking, but to change your approach. If you can't find the precise word, don't freeze. Instead, try to describe the concept using the simpler English words you already know.
That is a brilliant technique. For example, if the word bookcase escapes you in the moment, don't revert to your native language. Keep thinking in English and form the thought, the tall wooden shelf where I put my books. You have kept your brain in English mode and successfully communicated the idea to yourself, which is the entire point.
You are teaching your brain to be flexible and resourceful within the English language, which is a core skill of fluency. The third major challenge is perhaps the most insidious, the feeling that you are not making any progress. This can drain your motivation faster than anything else.
This is so true, because progress in language learning is often slow and internal. You might not see dramatic day-to-day improvements. You can feel like you are running on a treadmill, working hard but going nowhere. This leads many learners to simply lose heart and quit.
The best solution for this is to create tangible evidence of your progress. You cannot rely on feeling. You must track it. This is where that English journal becomes more than just practice. It becomes a record of your journey.
Exactly, Beth. After a few weeks of keeping your journal, go back and read your very first entries. You will be amazed at how much more fluid and varied your sentences have become. You can also record yourself speaking for 1 minute each week, just talking about your day. Listening back to these recordings after a month provides undeniable proof of your improvement.
That is a powerful strategy. Seeing and hearing your own progress reignites motivation like nothing else. The most important thing is to stay patient and persistent. Thinking in English is a skill, a mental muscle. It takes time to strengthen. Do not be afraid of mistakes. Just keep practicing. Consistency will inevitably lead to a natural feeling.
That is the key. Embrace the journey with all its imperfections.
Wow, Carl, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today. We've explored the profound reasons why thinking in English is the master key to fluency, identified the common mistakes that hold people back, laid out a step-by-step training plan, provided daily exercises for habit formation, and discussed how to overcome motivational challenges.
It has been a comprehensive guide. Thinking in English is indeed a journey, but it's a journey with a clear map. With the right mindset, consistent daily practice, and a forgiving attitude towards yourself, anyone can achieve this transformative skill.
Absolutely. Remember, the goal is to start small, be incredibly kind to yourself during the process, and never let the fear of making a mistake prevent you from trying. The more you practice, the more natural and effortless it will become.
Now, to all of our listeners, we want to hear from you. What is the one tip from today's discussion that resonated most deeply with you?
Which strategy are you most excited to try first? Please share your thoughts and your experiences with us.
And if you found this episode helpful on your path to fluency, please help others discover it by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. We are here to support your English learning journey every step of the way.
Keep practicing, keep challenging yourself, and most importantly, keep thinking in English. We will see you in the next episode.
Until then, happy learning, and remember, your fluent English mindset is closer than you think.